Hey there, how's it going? It's been a few months since I have caught up on this, so first of all, my apologies. But my name is Mike Dokter. I am the coach of the house basketball team, the house high school basketball team. We're reading through book 2 of Pound the Stone by Joshua Medcalf. We're up to chapter 13, so we'll do chapters 13 and 14 in this video with some thoughts. Chapter 13, Prison. I just don't get it, Jason said as he ended a call on his phone. Some people are so locked into the wrong way of doing things. How so? Russ asked. As usual, they were sitting out on the porch watching the sunset. Well, I asked one of my buddies from the team if he wanted to swing by and hang out for a day and see what it's like to grind door to door, but he said he can't because he's tired from work. Do you know where he works? A fast food place, for a boss that he hates, doing a job that he hates. And look, I don't always love selling books, but at least I'm working for myself, and I think it might be something he'd be good at. Maybe he could do it next summer. Russ chuckled. Conditioning is a powerful sedative, Jason. I remember watching a really powerful stage drama one time about a group of people who were trapped inside of a prison for many years. Eventually, though, the prison doors were unlocked and the armed guards had abandoned their posts. But because of years of conditioning, the prisoners refused to leave. A man came to visit them, pleading for them to go, but they chastised him and drove him away. I think the same thing has happened in our culture. All the rules have changed, and there's no reason to stay trapped in a job you hate. But for most people in our culture, it's really hard to believe. Jason thought that it was odd coming from a street sweeper. Well, what do you mean? Well, it's hard to believe you could just walk away from prison and pursue your dreams and destiny. Most people would rather believe someone else is keeping them chained up than accept the truth. The only one responsible for keeping us where we are is us. Everyone has challenges. Some see them as an excuse, but a rare few choose to see them for what they really are, the forging ground for greatness. When you've been stuck in prison for most of your life, it's hard to believe that the world is full of endless opportunities. But our world is no longer a prison. It's a meritocracy. The internet, social media, and amazing advancements in technology have made it possible for anyone who is willing to pound the stone and willing to consistently hit publish to reach the entire world. Does it help to have a huge budget and fancy degrees? To some extent it might, but it's no longer a legitimate excuse. All over the world, people are realizing that if they make amazing art, do incredible work, and pound the stone persistently, that anything is possible. The gatekeepers no longer wield the same power they did for hundreds of years. No matter your race, gender, sexual preference, family background, or anything else, those who do the best work, make the best art, and have the best ideas will rise to the top. Those who care enough to truly connect, who are courageous enough to persistently hit publish on whatever they create, and who pound the stone in spite of their failures and setbacks, will win in the long game. But the hard truth is this: no one can let you out of prison. You and you alone must choose to leave. Most people never will. Most people will choose 3 square meals a day and a comfortable structure of a scheduled life, even if it's killing their potential. They prefer certainty over wide open, uncharted culture of the internet, social media, and a consistently shifting landscape of new technologies. Because, as you've experienced, the world of pounding the stone isn't always easy, and it's rarely, if ever, comfortable. Jason nodded. You've got that right. Still, I feel bad for my buddy. He should really get out of that job, especially after hearing you talk about this stuff. I'll give you a word of warning on that. And I know this from personal experience. Russ shook his head. A wise friend of mine once said, if someone insists they need to be in prison if someone insists they need to be in prison even though the door is unlocked, then I'm not going to argue. They are free to stay in prison. Jason thought about all those words as he grabbed his ball and headed for the courts. They made sense, but they also made him sad when he thought about all the people who he knew worked jobs they hated when they could quit at any moment. He determined that he would do his best to keep pounding the stone with relentless persistence so that it would never be him. It was weird hearing Russ talk about stuff like this, considering his own job. But one thing Jason started to realize is the more time he spent with Russ and Jan was that they had 2 things people truly want in life: peace and contentment in abundance. He knew he wanted those things in his life as well. So that was chapter 13, Prison. One of the interesting things about that is the idea of being able to do whatever you want and profit whatever you want. I do believe that, but what I don't want you to lose focus on is the fact that it takes tremendous amounts of effort. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you finish. The difference is in between those two areas and in between those two things. It takes tremendous amount of persistency and consistency of pounding on your craft over and over and over and over and over again, even when you're tired, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's too hot out, when you're in a bad mood. It doesn't necessarily matter. If you're working towards something, you can accomplish that thing. But it's most important to focus on the process and stop counting the actual results that you experience in the midst of that process, because you're getting better and you're learning and growing even in the midst of it, even if it's horrible. Ironically, this next chapter talks about that. Chapter 14, stop counting. Chapter 14. As the weeks passed, Jason got used to the rhythm of life as a door-to-door salesman. Well, as used to it as a stubborn teenager could. Pound the stone was more like feet pounded by stone. It was by far the hardest work he'd ever done. To be honest, most of the time he just got tired. He just tried to get through it. He hoped to be able to figure out how to sell better as time passed so his numbers would go up. But that wasn't happening. 5 books here, 7 there, 8 here. He still had yet to get anywhere close to the record of 55 from his first day. What was he doing wrong? Did you take up coloring? Jan asked Jason as she walked into the living room. He was filling out a color chart. No, it's my sales chart, and it says I'm way behind schedule. Whenever he got discouraged, he thought of that chart. Every line he marked was one more step towards making it back on the team. But instead of inspiring Jason, the chart had started to depress him. Any day he didn't make a mark or made only a tiny one, it reminded him that he was failing. The number at the top, 1,200, seemed further away as each day passed. But the more he obsessed over it, the worse he felt about his performance and the more his process suffered. One night, Jason came back from basketball practice. Russ was reading out on the porch as usual. Looking a little tired, son. What's going on? Jason collapsed into the porch chair, defeated. People aren't buying books, and it's stupid that I have to sell so many. It's already a couple weeks into the summer, and I'm way behind my goal. I need to sell 100 books a week, but right now, I'm only at 95 total. Russ got a gleam in his eye. You want to make more sales, right? Yeah. Then stop counting them. What? Jason couldn't believe what he was hearing. Russ looked at Jason with empathy as he recognized the same ambition in himself, ambition that had almost derailed him at many points along his own journey. Jason, one of the wisest things I've learned is that with your eyes on the goal, you have no eyes for the journey. I understand that you know where you want to get to, but it's the process that gets us there. It's all the little things. When you focus on everything other than your journey, you are more likely to get lost and end up far from your desired destination. Jason was trying to follow, but it was really hard. He didn't get it. I'm not sure I understand. Russ motioned to Jason's phone. Pull up YouTube and type in Inky Johnson. I want to show you something TD sent me earlier today. As Jason obeyed, he went on. Inky was a lockdown cornerback playing football at the University of Tennessee, and he was slated to be a lottery pick in the upcoming NFL draft. But late in his junior year, he had a freak injury during a routine tackle that almost killed him and left one of his arms paralyzed. Russ clicked play on the video, and Jason watched, mesmerized as Inky spoke. So I've been intrigued with, can you commit to the process of what you do without being emotionally attached to the result of what you do? Because a lot of people can be committed to the process, what they do, if the results don't change. But the moment the result or the outcome changes of what they are chasing, they shut down or they quit simply because the result changed. So can we be committed to the process of what we do, but not emotionally to the result of what we do? Understanding every day I get up and I give everything I got to everything I am a part of simply because this is who I am. Like the only thing I need in a day is 86,400 seconds. I don't need some reward to chase. I don't need some reward. The only thing I need is the breath in my body, and I'm gonna flat out go and get it. Jason felt goosebumps all over his body. He was blown away by Inky. He nodded to Russ. I didn't recognize his name at first, but I remember seeing a story on ESPN the other day. I think I finally understand what you want me to do. Good, Russ nodded. Before you go to bed, you need to know how it works. We'll get there in a second. Next video. I want to talk about chapter 14 for a second, though. And I want to tell you a story about a guy named Robert. Robert works for me in sales. And Robert came in with a lot of experience, but he didn't come in with the perspective of how we did business working with individuals where you have to go out and produce on your own. He was more of an individual where things came to him. Now, Robert's an amazing guy. That's not a knock on him. It was just the nature of the previous 10 years of what he did. He was not used to having to go out, build the relationship, influence people the way that he thought he should. He read Chop Wood, Carry Water, which is actually underneath this tripod right now, holding this up a little higher for me. He read a couple other books I recommended, and his first year, he was at 40% of his goal. And my boss was not happy about that, wanted me to write him up, put him on probation, and start the process of getting him out the door. And I said, nope, Robert's doing everything right. Robert's doing absolutely everything right. Don't look at his numbers. He's doing all the little things the right way. Year 2, Robert was at 46%. And my boss was not happy about that. And she kept pushing and pushing and pushing. You got to write him up. 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 And I interceded for him and defended him like crazy. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. He took on a list of accounts that nobody has gotten anything out of for the past 5 years. He got the worst list of accounts when he came here, and he's doing everything right. I've been on calls with him. I've been out in the field with him. He's consistently following up. He's consistently making phone calls. He's consistently making visits. He's consistently adding value. He's a nice guy. He's going to get there. He just needs time. We are currently 5 months into his 3rd year with our program, and Robert right now is at 86% of his goal, and he leads the team. We're halfway through the year, and he leads the team, and he's 86% of the place that he needs to be for the entire year. The persistence pays off. Doing the little things over and over and over and over and over and over again, and buying into that is what can get you the results that you need. And it took a lot for him not to look at the results, because I was told that I needed to push the scorecard out and the goals out and your percentage to goal every single week. And I did that because that was my job. I didn't agree with it. I didn't necessarily think it was effective. And Robert was a prime example of that. When he saw that, he got absolutely devastated. And we talked twice a week consistently. And we talked about what he was doing. We talked about the great work he was doing. We talked about the great relationships he was building. And I kept encouraging him. I said, man, it's going to come. It's going to come. Just keep doing it. Don't lose faith. Keep doing the little things. Keep pounding the stone. Keep chopping wood. Keep carrying water. You're going to get there. Everything's going to be okay. And right now, he's starting to see that to the point where he just got a tremendous job offer, and I'm so super proud of that dude. So if you are in a situation where you're not seeing results, but you're putting the work in, you are doing the right thing. If you're putting in the right work and you've identified the little things, those ton of feathers that add up to still weighing a ton, if you've identified what those things are and you continue doing it day after day, hour after hour, week after week, month after month, year after year, it's going to come. It took 3 years for him to get there, 2.5 years for him to get there. And it was exhausting, and he was demoralized and everything else. But if you have the right people providing you with the right information, and you buy into the right system, and you figure out what the right things are, you're going to get there too. So next video, we'll find out exactly what that means and what that looks like. So we'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks so much for watching.